Hello, my name is Gary Schotten, and I'm standing here in China on top of the Great Wall of China. You can kind of look here in the background and see how this is a restored section of this wall that's some 3,000 miles long, took almost 1,000 years to build, and a lot of people involved over that time period. So what a wonderful part of history. And I'm here in China because a group of us here are to build relationships and become stronger friends of our Chinese Christian friends that are here doing business and using the marketplace as our common ground to reach people for the good of the kingdom, good of the Chinese government, good of the Chinese people, good for all if we can reach a common ground to serve God through the marketplace. And so I think the key for me is to know what I'm supposed to be doing in life. You know, if I'm not sure of what I'm supposed to be doing in life, if I'm not sure of what my purpose in life, my calling in life is, then I don't know if I'm going to be very strong in going forward in that. I've watched different sporting events, and I can see when maybe somebody is not encouraged, or they're not strong, they're not confident in themselves. And so no matter how much I want to encourage someone, there's something inside of each one of us that we have to become encouraged and encourage ourselves along with outside. So I hope we can cover some points. Now, when I was coming, I was reading a book here. It's called The Great China Puzzle, or The Chinese Puzzle. Basically, I was reading a chapter, and I covered a quote here that just absolutely describes my thoughts. So I circled this, and it was by Mr. Howard Thurman. I don't know this man very well, but what a good quote. It says, "Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and then go do that." Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. So my encouragement to you is find something, as it says here, that you come alive with it. You live it, you breathe it, you think it. Now, not at the expense of your family, not at the expense of your home budget, not at the expense of being a workaholic. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm alive with what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm traveling all over the world, encouraging entrepreneurship. I'm encouraging people that should be in business to take that step. Now, that doesn't mean everyone should go into business, but those that are supposed to and will never be satisfied without going into business, those are the ones that I'm here to encourage. Let me tell you a couple examples. My dad was an entrepreneur. He always designed to be an entrepreneur. He knew that. He was not a scholastic person with a college degree. He was kind of felt a little bit, I think, a bit inferior in that area, but that wasn't his arena. But as an entrepreneur, he was fabulous, and I got to sit under him. A little bit of his background to encourage himself, and at times he was discouraged. He at times, I know, had to encourage himself to go on. But he went to the Navy. He was back in the 1940, 45, 46, in that era, and he wasn't in World War II, but he was in the Korean War. And he told me at one time that he really hated being in the Navy. Not that the Navy's bad, but it wasn't for him. He was so disappointed that they'd send 5 people out at that time to do what one person could actually do. And the 4 were leaning on the shovel. That just wasn't him. He was always wanting to drive and do something. All my life I watched my dad, and he was always doing something to expand his farm operation. Now, he came from Kansas. That's one of our states here in the United States. And he went into a new territory, a new area, place that had very marginal rainfall. And a lot of people didn't think it would ever produce. But he worked diligently at it. He encouraged himself. He kept strong at it. He had crop failure, but he had crop success. And over a period of years, actually almost 20 years before he could buy his first piece of property. Then it started rolling, and he bought his first piece of property and bought another piece of property. Actually, his mom, I know this to be true, well, he asked his mom to invest. Now, he didn't ask his mom to give him money, but asked his mom if she would buy a piece of land in where we currently have our farm. And that's what got things started. That's what has got us there to begin with. And so from that, we started a farm corporation, and it just grew. He was into cattle. He had ups and downs in the cattle business. I'm telling you, he was an entrepreneur, and as far as I'm concerned, he was my guide. He was my idol. He's my person I look back on and ask myself, what would Dad do? Now, let's talk about another one. Most of the people around the world have heard about the company called Walmart. Well, Walmart was formed by a man by the name of Sam Walton. And if you have a chance, read some of his books. Read a book and you'll hear some of the tales and his stories of how he got started, how disciplined he was, how he failed, and he opened up a business at a certain location and he didn't have a contract, and he got his business up and going, and then when it came time to renew his contract, the owner of the property got jealous and didn't give him a contract, wouldn't let him go on. So he had to start over in another town. It's case after case after case of he lived and breathed being an entrepreneur. And you know, I can identify with that. I can see that being, that's what I'm called to do. Now I'm going to give another example. Just recently, here in the last couple weeks, you know, if you watch many of these videos, that I own a machine shop. And I won't name this individual, but if he hears this video, he'll know who he is. And he's somebody that I spotted. He's worked for us about 5 years. And you know, he's a good worker. He's very intelligent. And we got his notice. He said he's going to quit. Oh, no, we don't want him to quit. Oh, yes, because he's going to start his own business. You know, it's kind of like a seed. If you have a seed and you put a little moisture on it and you put it in the ground, you can hardly stop it from growing. It's going to sprout, it's going to grow, it's going to develop into something that has even a chance. And this individual will do fine. I know he will, because he's that drive and energy. While he was working for us, he was always doing something on the side. He wasn't someone that just sat home and watched TV. He had something going, just like my dad, just like Sam Walton. Now, for myself, I have that inside of me. I had a reason to work for the big oil company for 10 years, and then I had a reason to move to a new state where we live now. And you know, I wasn't going to find a job. I wasn't cut out to work for somebody else. I knew that I was one to own my own business. I had to start real humble. It's another whole video, but I started with a horse trailer pulled behind my family car, and that's how I got started. And I learned at first it was just to get money so I could pay my bills, but after a while I realized, hey, this is where I could cut my teeth. This is where I could learn entrepreneurship. This has all the challenges that would create everything I would need to know. I didn't really like that. That's one thing about being an entrepreneur. It's not necessarily easy. It's one thing to look and see, hey, think that you're on your own boss and you can do whatever you want. That's really not the case. Everyone is your boss when you're an entrepreneur. Your customers are your boss. They don't tell you what to do, but you do what they want in order to keep them as a customer. And so it's a process of time. It's a process of developing your skills. It's never ending. A process of being always gaining knowledge, always learning something. I read this book. I'm not a big reader. I'm reading about the Chinese culture. I want to know how my Chinese friends think. I'm going to speak on this, and I'm speaking on this in the next couple nights on this subject of what does it mean to be an entrepreneur, and I believe this will help. Thank you for listening. I ask that you would watch these videos, that you would share them.